Howdy guys. With Season 12 coming up, we're all anticipating what balance changes the devs might make. Especially after they specified one of their balance goals, going into the new season, is cracking down on some of the mobility heroes because, quote, they have a huge advantage in the current state of the game. They're planning on targeting the health pools of particularly mobile heroes, mainly those in the damage and support roles. Which is pretty interesting because most of the top performing tanks are also fairly mobile. So it seems like they're intentionally leaving tanks alone to let them sit and stew with the increased tankiness patch, and they probably won't be doing any reverting or tuning down those HP pools to more reasonable levels. Kinda disappointing, but I get where the devs are coming from because they're trying their best to make their version of 5v5 the best it can be with their set balance and design philosophies before the 6v6 test comes and takes over those resources. With this information and what we have available in Overbuff, I want to get some discussion and contemplation in before we see the actual changes they've made. What heroes do I think are the most likely to receive changes in the Season 12 balance patch, and which mobility heroes do I think are going to have their health pools reduced? Before I get into those predictions, let's talk about performance. Currently, the top characters of each role in Grandmasters, according to win rates and pick rates, are these on the tier list. The top performers in Grandmaster overall are D.Va, Winston, Ashe, and Tracer, who are all overperforming in win rate and pick rate. I will shout out Junker Queen and Venture though. Even though they aren't top picked, they still have decent pick rates, and they both have the highest win rate of their respective roles. So they're definitely doing very well in the meta. Also, calling out supports who don't have any overlapping characters because they have so many good and or situational picks. Brig, Bap, Idiari, Lucio, and Xin are all top performers, all with higher than 53% win rates. Brig and Xin are understandably being the least picked by far due to them being much more niche, but they're still very strong and viable picks when in those favorable situations. The worst performing characters are Orisa, Hog, Mauga, Sombra, Sojourn, Mercy, and Lifeweaver. Each of these characters are bottom 3 win rate and pick rate in their roles, and could all use some major help. Probably needing at least minor reworks, like what has been teased for Lifeweaver. One common factor with most of these characters is that they are fundamentally frustrating to play against, and sometimes with, so the majority of players probably don't mind these characters continuing to majorly underperform until the devs decide to fundamentally alter them. It's pretty sad, but in the eyes of many, including myself, it's a necessary evil to avoid the worst of sustain metas. There are a few bottom stat heroes that only have one bad stat that I think should also be shouted out. Bastion has an abysmal win rate, like Sojourn and Sombra, but has a pretty average pick rate. On the other side of the spectrum, Symmetra is the least picked damage hero, period, but has a healthy, slightly above average win rate due to her still performing very well in her niche or in the hands of dedicated specialists. For support, we already talked about Xin having a great win rate, but he is also bottom 3 picked in the role, so he's also much more of a specialist character. Kiriko is a special one because she's as annoying and potent as ever, but because she relies so much on heavy coordination, she tends to underperform in ranked. But after her several completely justified nerfs, it seems even the GM Kiriko players are struggling to adapt to their hero being any semblance of balanced. She currently has the second lowest win rate of supports, which is crazy, but she's still an extremely popular pick, only coming second to Ana. This means that while she still has some objectively OP parts to her kit, Kiriko is struggling on two ends by requiring that above average level of coordination and not matching up against the meta very well. Alright, so we know which characters are doing well and which are struggling. We also know that the devs are at least minorly reworking Lifeweaver and that they're targeting the health pools of mobility heroes and the damage and support roles that are outperforming their less mobile counterparts. We also know that Juno has 225 HP, so this is probably what most mobility characters will be changed to. With all this info, I think I have a good idea on what will likely make an appearance on the patch notes and what we can realistically hope for. I can see the following characters getting outright nerfed, that being D.Va, Ashe, Venture, Baptiste, and Iriari. I hope that we see some changes for these bottom performers, along with the Lifeweaver rework. Bastion, Sojourn, and Mercy deserve some love. I don't hope they buff any tanks, but I won't be surprised if we are jump scared with another round of micro buffs for the Accursed Trio. The mobility characters I think they'll be adjusting might be Genji, Echo, Kiriko, Mercy, Sombra, and Venture. I know it's not going to happen, like I said at the beginning, but I do hope they consider reverting some of their previous tank changes and then some. They won't, but hey, it's my channel, I don't like it, I'm gonna complain about it here. So let's get into the actual balance patch. I hope the actual changes are that D.Va at least gets her HP and armor pool changes nerfed a bit, and defense matrix is fully reverted and maybe nerfed past that point. Like I said, I really hope we don't see any of them, but out of the Accursed Trio, if one does get buffed, I hope it's Orisa, since she's doing very poorly, and I don't want them to touch Hog or Mauga with a 20-foot pole. Ideally, these characters are sidelined until 6v6, where they can receive some reworks to better fit in the game as a whole. I hope Ashe gets a Bob-related nerf, and also gets another part of her kit tuned downward, since she's doing so well right now, and will greatly benefit from other characters getting their max HP reduced. Also hoping that Bastion gets an interesting change. He's a beloved character that has been in the gutter for a long while, and is another sad victim of current 5v5 just being an awful format. I love Bastion, so I hope they spice him up and give him some interesting, skill-expressive changes that make his gameplay more fluid and fun. Reworking him back into a proper stance swapper again would be great, but those ideas could be their own video, so I'll move on. Genji had better get some good buffs, because I have a feeling they're going to reduce his HP since they hate the character so damn much. RIP all of the Genji bros, it's rough out here. Echo also might catch a nerf, but I think the HP changes that she's most likely going to get will be more than enough. Echo's doing well right now, but she isn't dominating, and she keeps some of the other more problematic characters in check. Sombra is probably going to receive an overall positive shift. I imagine they'll buff her offenses in some way if they reduce her HP pool to 225, like I hope they do. Props if they remove the perma-stealth, because it is stupid as fuck, but I doubt they make a rework level change to a problematic character without hyping it up. Sojourn is a wreck right now, and I hope they don't overbuff her, despite how poorly she's doing in the live patch. She and a lot of other hit scan and combo characters are going to greatly benefit from a good chunk of heroes having their max HP reduced. I see the devs probably buffing her primary fire rail, or alternatively shifting some power from her mobility into her damage orb or rail. Tracer is doing great right now, but I don't think she's a problem in herself, so I hope there aren't any substantial changes. Venture, on the other hand, is probably going to get gutted with nerfs and their HP getting reduced. The devs will probably nerf Burrow and the primary fire some, but I hope it's not too much, because one of the biggest reasons Venture is popping off is because they pair so well with Diva. So any nerfs to Diva are also nerfs to Venture. Bap hopefully catches some healing or some damage nerfs. Another character that honestly should probably just get some fundamental changes, but that most likely won't happen until 6v6. Hopefully, in the meantime, they also gut his Lamp's health to 200 or 225, because these deployables are ridiculous. Speaking of deployables, they need to obliterate Iriari's Pylon. She's already a decent DPS support with a great ult, but Pylon completely breaks her and makes Iriari an endlessly frustrating character to play against. No one has fun being forced to break deployables all the time, especially when those deployables are so potent, they might as well be a 6th player that can hard carry passively. Leave the rest of her kit alone, maybe buff her secondary fire fuel, and then gut Pylon. Less healing, make it much easier to break, and have it automatically self-destruct after like 20 or 30 seconds. Make Iriaris have to pay attention to their Pylon and constantly need to replace it, or risk it self-destructing during a fight. I think Kiriko will receive more of a shift. The devs might buff some numbers here and there to compensate for reducing her HP to 225, or hopefully 200. The character is way too difficult to punish for the average player, or even hit, to justify her having 250 max HP. It's a bit ridiculous. Finally, Mercy will hopefully get an overall positive shift. Reducing her HP is completely warranted with how difficult she is to hit, but she's also doing so poorly that I won't be surprised if Blizzard just juices up her numbers in an attempt to see how she does before planning out an actual rework. I'm hoping the balance patch is good, because the next season looks great with a competitive overhaul and the new Clash mode, which I look forward to as a deranged 2CP map enjoyer from Overwatch 1. It does look great though, and I'm pretty excited. Balance is really the only thing that can throw it, so I hope they lock in and give us a not awful balance patch. But that's it for the video. Please let me know down below if you agree with the characters I think are going to get changed, or which characters you hope get changed. Also, what do y'all think about Season 12 so far, with everything the Overwatch team has shown off? Are you excited? Let me know. If you enjoy the video, I appreciate you doing all of the YouTube stuff since it helps out a ton. Thank you all for watching. See ya.